What is up, my Nova Kingdom? It's Nova King back again. And today, I just want to talk about something. I just want to say something. I finally finished Dragon Ball Super. Now, that may not make sense to some of you because you're like Nova King. Dragon Ball Super's been over since like March of 18. What are you talking about? Well, maybe for those who watched, the sub, the original, the Japanese dub, you know what I'm saying? But I am a die-hard dub fan, and although I will recognize that nowadays we've come to realize that most of the actors at Funimation are garbage people and aren't very nice and entitled, Goku being, Sean Schemmel being one of those people. So I mean, as people, I don't like them, but I separate art from artist, and I love the dub voices, and that's how I've grown up on Dragon Ball. That's how I've grown up on anime. So I'm like, you know what? No, I'm gonna stick through it. I'm gonna wait for the dub. I didn't watch Dragon Ball Super till I got the dub. All right, and that was like 2 years after the Dragon Ball Super started. I was dedicated. I'm a hardcore dub fan. All right, so I waited. So just last weekend, the last episode of Super came out, and I just watched it tonight. I waited a week, then I watched it tonight. As I'm recording this video on the 12th, Saturday, the 12th of October. So I just watched it. So I finally finished Dragon Ball Super. I finally caught up. Now, of course, I wasn't really super surprised by a lot of things because being, somebody that loves Dragon Ball, it's my favorite series of all time. I get recommended things. I know of a lot of things. Like I knew a lot of stuff happened before I ever got to it. In the dub, like Ultra Instinct, there was no real, the whole surprise and the whole plot twist aspects of Super were not really, I really didn't get to experience because, just because of, how late I got into it. But I finally finished it, and I want to sit down and talk about my thoughts over the whole series in the Dragon Ball Super, in its entirety, because I feel like a lot of the fans are kind of split because I've seen some people say that Super is not a good continuation. It's trash. It's bad. I've seen people say stuff like that. But then on the other side of the spectrum, people like Super. I love Super. I honestly think it was a really good continuation, a really good sequel to Z. As good as Z was, I think it really lived up to that, and it really was able to do good. And I mean, Super was a big deal because we had been left without anything new in the Dragon Ball community for so many years. That's why I think the Dragon Ball community is one of the best, because the show ended originally Z off in the 90s. Even GT was done before the 2000s, I think. So you had all these years where fans were dedicated. We took whatever we could get. Games, we stuck with Dragon Ball. We made videos about it. We talked about it. We loved the series. And then we finally, after all this time, got Super. And now that it's all over, I just want to talk about it. First, I'm going to break it down into the sagas. We'll talk about each arc, and then I'll kind of talk about it as a whole, my thoughts. And I'll probably compare it to Z a little bit, as it is the continuation to it, the sequel. So let's get started. So we start with the Beerus arc. Now, the Beerus and the Frieza, so Resurrection F and the Battle of Gods arc are kind of iffy for some people because they're just retellings of the movies, which I get to an extent, and it's like, yeah, I know you're trying to rewrite it so it is the canon, but you could have just said the movies were canon. So I don't think that making them into arcs was necessary, really, but I think it was also a good thing because with the Battle of Gods arc, it was just retelling that story we saw in the movie, but with the Battle of Gods arc, we got, we still got different things. We still got more. We got to see things that were happening on Earth prior to Bulma's birthday, and we saw a lot of things. We got a lot more context, and we got a lot more detail about certain things that happened in between in the Battle of Gods stuff. Which I'm always happy about more content. I really wasn't that upset about the Battle of Gods arc having to be redone because I thought it was done fairly well. Goku. I think there's a couple scenes like Vegeta's rage moment when Bulma gets hit, which is an iconic thing in Dragon Ball now. I think Super did that better than the movie, honestly, just a little bit. Goku's battle with Beerus was still really on point and really good, and had a lot of cool moments in the They even really talked about the size and how really how truly momentous this kind of fight was, because they talked about like how it was literally ripping the universe apart. Like just those little details they added in about how crazy this fight was really cool. And the way Goku, like, I remember there's a part, it's been a long time since I've seen, you know, the first arc in Dragon Ball Super, so forgive me, but there's a part where I think Beerus, like, you know, kind of like stabs Goku almost, and he drops down from like the atmosphere back into the ocean, then springs back up and flies all the way back up, like, you know, gets back up from it. Like, there's just a lot of really cool moments we got to see that were done differently in the show. I don't know, I think I like the adaptation in Super and the movie about the same, honestly. I think they both were done pretty well. Moving on to the Resurrection F arc, though, it's a little iffy. I can't say the same. Honestly, like, the Resurrection F arc was really bad. There was nothing really redeemable about it. They maybe gave a little more context to certain things that happened, like on Frieza's end, that were kind of cool. That gave us more details, like into Frieza's training, what he did, I guess. But it really wasn't a lot, and it definitely wasn't enough to make up for the fact of how bad a lot of the animation was. There really just wasn't. They really just didn't add on. Like, I don't know. Like, the fight was pretty bland. Like, compared to like the fight we got in the movie Resurrection F, I don't know. It just didn't seem quite as there with the show adaptation. You know, I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I definitely think they could have done a better job on the Resurrection F arc. There was nothing that was really cool or interesting or really surprising that made it anything that could stand alone from the movie. The movie, if you want to watch Resurrection F stuff, just go watch the movie. It's just, it does a better job of it, I think. Again, my memory's hazy, but I remember not liking the Resurrection F arc, and I just wanted it to be done so we could get on to the actual new stuff. And that brings us to where the new stuff starts coming in. The Universe 7 versus Universe 6 tournament. And this was really exciting for me because we were finally getting into territory that I've never seen before. You know, I know what kind of happens to an extent, but still, like, I was still really excited about it. And I think that arc was really cool because we never really saw anything like it before. We saw tournaments happen. Well, I guess in Dragon Ball we had like a whole arc. We had arcs dedicated to the tournaments, but I don't know. Just it was the first time we really saw this whole concept of different universes, like the multiverse theory, and having people from different universes clash. Like, this is the first time we ever saw this, and this is really what preludes and what really leads to the Tournament of Power, which is the last arc in Super. So it is a pretty important arc, although not as much as on the line. Like, it's not like life or death situation type stuff. There was still a fair amount on the line. Like, Earth could have been taken to Universe 6 instead, which would have been really weird. But even though it wasn't quite as maybe high octane and like high stress situations, it was still a really cool arc because it sets up a lot that happens later on. You got a lot of cool fights. Frost was really cool. Just all getting to see the Universe 6 cast was really cool. We got to see Frost and how he like poisoned Goku and stuff like that, and seeing I forget who it was that took Frost out. I know that Piccolo fought him, but I don't think Piccolo took him out. Maybe he did. Piccolo was really cool though too. I remember Piccolo did a lot of cool moves that we saw him use in his heyday, and seeing him fight Frost. I remember it was Vegeta versus Magetta was a really cool fight. That was really, really good. That was a really cool. That was like one of the first times we really saw Vegeta really go hard in Super. Like, really. I mean, it was really, really cool. That was an awesome fight. You got all this stuff, but of course, the main thing that we all love about the Universe 6 versus 7 arc, I think I can say with a lot of confidence, is Goku versus Hit. I mean, just from their initial fight, like, just like seeing Hit fight Vegeta and seeing how strong, and being like confused about Hit, like how he did what he did, it was a really cool way to set up just what kind of fighter Hit was. And then Goku went in there and kind of like tested the waters. Like, Goku went in base form and just tried to figure out what was going on. Just seeing that learning, like, it really just goes to show you, and it really reminds you that, hey, Goku's not dumb. Goku's really smart. Just different thing. It's not just like education smart though. Like, Goku's really, really smart in a lot of aspects, and as a fighter, he's pretty much a genius. And he was able to figure out the time skip like pretty like really quickly, and figured out a counter for it. And then, you know, we get to see Kaioken Blue, which was done phenomenally. I think that moment was done so well, where Goku just started kind of laughing, and he's like talking about how like he was saving it for Beerus, and like just the build up to when he explodes with that form, just all the yelling and screaming. Like, I think that's one of the most impactful, like just crazy, really loud yells we've ever heard Goku do in Super. Like, that was by far one of the most powerful like yells we've ever seen of Goku in Super, when he was like powering up to Kaioken Blue. It was amazing. It was so cool. And the way they start playing the opening theme while Goku's just beating his ass, like, it was just really, really well done. It was really well done. I love that fight. It's one of my favorite fights in Dragon Ball history. Such a cool fight. The way that like Hit and Goku had so much respect for each other, and like they both hated Champa for calling them pawns and stuff like that, and like Goku telling them we're not pawns in their game, we're gonna rise above them one day. All this cool stuff. I mean, of course, it's kind of a cop-out that Goku like has to like step out of the ring, but then again, that also leads to one of the funniest moments in all of Super, where my boy Monaka walks up and just one punch, and it's like he just sends a Hit flying off, like Hit kind of stands there. He's like, oh god, and just flies off the ring. It was great. Like, I love that, honestly. Like, I really, really thought that was super funny, and I thought it was a really kind of, I don't know, like, funny enough as it is, I thought it was kind of a fitting way to end the tournament. It was just funny. I liked it a lot. We got to see the Super Dragon from the Super Dragon Balls. It was a really cool arc. I like that arc a lot. You know, it's really good. And then from there we move on to the Goku Black arc, is the next big prominent arc. And the Goku Black arc is really cool, and it's really unique. And I like a lot of what they were trying to do with it. I think the villain premise of Zamasu, I think Zamasu is probably one of the coolest villains. Him and Goku Black, I kind of put them as a pair, you know. They kind of come together. But they're one of the coolest villains I think I've seen in Dragon Ball. They're just their premise of being these like beings that believe themselves to be doing the right thing. It's like some Pain type stuff. Like, I love that. It's really cool because you get to try and see it through their perspective, see where they're coming from. You almost find yourself understanding where they're coming from, and that's kind of cool with villains. And like, I don't know, like, I thought Zamasu was really cool, and the Zero Mortal plan, like it was just really cool stuff, and it was so intricate. Again, but although I will say that I think the Goku Black arc is the most confusing, and that's kind of what puts it down, like, because there's so much time travel that's involved with that arc, and I think time travel is a terrible storytelling device. I don't think you should ever use time travel in shows. I think Dragon Ball is one of the few shows that does it right and does it okay, to where it doesn't mess up the storyline too badly. But I usually don't like time travel because it never works in a story. But back when Trunks did it in Z, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't all that confusing. But with Goku Black and Zamasu and all the different timelines, and bringing certain people from different timelines to help out, like Zamasu and Goku Black, and setting up this whole plan where they literally had a failsafe for everything. They had taken out all the other gods of destruction because they killed the Kais. Like, they had it figured out to where they were going to be unstoppable. And it was just so weird and hard to kind of keep track of and follow. And, like, it was kind of also silly because, like, Goku and Vegeta got their ass beat, like several times. And they had to keep going back and coming back to the future several times. And I think Goku Black and Zamasu probably even make a remark about it and end up blowing up the time machine. They're like, alright, enough of that. You're staying here. You know? At least, I don't know. I think that's what happened. But it's really confusing. But other than that, I really like the concept of the villains. I think it's a really cool way. You know, stealing Goku's body, that was really cool. There was a little bit of time where, like, you had to wonder who was this Goku Black, what was he. That unknown, like, not knowing was really, really cool. I mean, I kind of had an idea because, again, I didn't get to watch it when it first came out, but I'm taking myself as if I was seeing it for the first time, not knowing anything as it was intended, and it works really well. And so, and a lot of the fights were really cool, you know. And there were a lot of cool things about it. Seeing future Trunks come back. There's Vegeta's fight against Goku Black, where he goes off on him and telling him that he'll never be like Goku because he never worked for what he had, putting some mad respect on Goku. My favorite moment being when Goku just loses his mind after they tell him what he did to his family when they took his body. He just loses it. That was awesome. It was just a really, really cool arc. Power levels were a little confusing though. Kind of had a hard time figuring out who was strong when and how one person got so much stronger. They still to this day really haven't explained what Trunks' Rage Super Saiyan form was. It was just weird. We only saw it for like a little while. Like, it's just a really weird arc. And I think some of the power scaling isn't terrible. Like, Zamasu I kind of understood, because Zamasu was able to fight against Goku, not because he was strong, but because he was immortal. You know, so it kind of made sense. You get to the fusion stuff, which was, I thought, because you got like Zamasu and Goku Black and then Vegito. I think it was cool. I think Fuse Zamasu was a really cool concept. I think it was a really cool way to finish off the fighting aspect of it. And I think Vegito was really cool too. But it was really a wasted opportunity. We see Vegito for like a quarter of an episode, and then he defuses and Goku and Vegeta get their ass beat. Like, it really was a missed opportunity to make it a lot cooler. That fight was awesome. Don't get me wrong. The fight that we did see with Vegito and Fuse Zamasu was amazing, but we didn't see enough of it, I don't think. And so that kind of takes away from the arc and kind of its finale. Speaking of which, you know, it kind of got tainted. You know, the ending to the Goku Black arc sucks, in my opinion. I actually want to make a video talking about how you could fix it and make it better, in my opinion. So I'll talk about that later. But I don't know. It was just kind of weird how it ended, especially with their universe just getting annihilated by Zeno. Zeno just being the grand executioner and just taking care of it all himself, killing all the people that Trunks had been fighting so hard to save. You know, it's like, what? And then they just send them off to another timeline. It's like, what? It just doesn't make any sense. I would have rather they stay in Goku's timeline. Then we would have had Future Trunks permanently, which would have been awesome, because I love Future Trunks. Yeah. So, like the Goku Black arc, but it's really, really confusing. So it's hard to love it sometimes. But there is a lot of cool action sequences. Rose Goku Black is cool. I don't know. There was a lot of cool things from that arc, but also just kind of weird and kind of messed it up at times. But lastly, and most importantly, we have the Tournament of Power, which I think is the arc that saved the show for a lot of people. I think after the Goku Black arc, some people were kind of on the edge about what Super was like and if it was worth it, if it was any good. But I think the Tournament of Power arc really just brought it back and really made people love Dragon Ball Super. It was such a cool concept because you have all these universes coming together and clashing, and it's like, it takes away that stereotype of people thinking it's just about whose power level is stronger than who. There's so much strategy involved with the Tournament of Power arc because there were so many different fighters that used different types of moves. Like, there was a straight up sniper one episode that they had to find and take out and be discreet about. They couldn't just yell at him and, you know, blow him up immediately. They were like, there was this one little guy that was really tiny, like a bug dude. You know, there was just all these really cool dynamic aspects that we were able to enjoy because this is a tournament from all these different universes. We were given so much creative freedom to come up with crazy, unique, cool fighters that gave us really interesting battles that we got to partake in watching. Plus, it corrects the mistake that Dragon Ball also kind of followed for a long time, which was a lot of the characters lost relevance. You know, like Krillin, Tien, Roshi, like all these characters didn't matter anymore when you got like Vegeta and Goku, who were carrying all the weight for Dragon Ball Z, you know, Gohan, all those guys. But in this situation, you got to see every person contribute in some way or another. You know, granted, they still kind of cucked my boy Krillin pretty early on, but it's Krillin, so I mean, I guess it's gonna happen. But like every character, like honestly, one of my favorite moments in all of the Tournament of Power arc is Roshi, where he's giving his like crazy speech about not giving up and talking about, you know, all this, the ideals of the Turtle Hermit style, and like, it was just awesome. And like Krillin and Goku were like freaking out, and Goku was like crying when he thought Roshi was dead. And oh my god, like Roshi was just so motivational and inspirational and wouldn't give up. Like, I love Roshi to death, and that moment made me love him even more. And just how badass he still is at his old age, you know. Android 18 took out Ribrianne and all them, and finally put an end to that, because that Ribrianne and her gang was the absolute worst thing about the Tournament of Power, and I think everyone will agree with me on that. But that aside, I mean, it was great. Everyone contributed, really, and like, it was so much hype. Like, I've never gotten more hype for Dragon Ball in general, Z included. Nothing has gotten me more hype than the amount of times I lost my mind during the Tournament of Power. Like, there's just so many cool things that happened. Hit versus Jiren was amazing. Vegeta versus Jiren was amazing. When he's, like, the first time they fought when he was just blue, I think it was, yeah, was amazing, you know? Like, it was just, there were so many awesome fights that were just so hype and so well animated. Like, the Tournament of Power arc was clean. Not like Dragon Ball Super Broly clean, but it was clean, dog. And, like, Evolved Blue Vegeta, you know, was cool. And, like, the tag team with Goku and Vegeta at the strongest they can be on their own, because Goku's got Ultra Instinct, but that's not something he can control. Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken is as strong as he can muster on his own. Vegeta was at his strongest form he's ever been in Evolved Blue. And the tag team against Jiren was phenomenal. It was super cool. And, like, you have 17, who was amazing. They took 17 from being this, like, you know, this android in the Cell Saga that almost got beat up by Piccolo. You know, it wasn't that impressive and got absorbed by Cell. And you take him and you turn him into somebody that's on par with, like, Goku Blue. Like, 17 got so strong in the time gap, and I love him so much. Like, I didn't care for 17 at all before, but now I love him. I love Ranger 17. Ranger 17 is the best 17. He is so cool, and he did a lot. He really was one of the biggest MVPs of the tournament, and he did so much. I loved it. 17 had a lot of cool moments. But yeah, Evolved Blue was really cool. And Ultra Instinct was amazing. I love Ultra Instinct. I don't know I think some people view it as a bad thing and a lot of people didn't like it, but I thought the premise of it was really cool. How it was this godly technique that even God struggled to use. And even Goku, it did take its toll on him. And as we saw with whenever he used it. And just the way the progression of mastering it went, and just what entails when you're in Ultra Instinct and how you dodge everything. Like, it's just such a cool transformation, such a cool concept. And every time Goku did it, without fail, I got hype. Every time. Whether it be Kefla, which was cool too. The fusion that happened with Kefla, you know, Kale and Khalifa, was a really cool aspect of the Tournament of Power too. You know, that, the first time with Jiren, second time with Jiren, mastered Ultra Instinct. Like, I just loved all of it. I got so hyped every time I saw Ultra Instinct. Like, it was great. And everything was so well animated. Like, everything looked so good. So, and then once you get through all the fighting and you get to where it's Master Ultra Instinct Goku versus Jiren, they have this final awesome fight that was really, really good. And, like, Jiren tries to kill all of Goku's friends, and Goku gets in the way, and he's like, alright, listen, I ain't no superhero, I'll admit it, but you don't hurt my friends. And he just went off like dog. And the thing is, like, Goku really did surpass Jiren. He had him down. But we see that Goku can't handle that kind of power yet. And to see, like, I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I love the way they did it. I love the last episode. I think a lot of it was really cool with, like, Goku, Frieza, and 17 being the last three. But I don't know. Part of me just wishes they would have ended it with Goku doing something really, really badass as Master Ultra Instinct. Like, they could have still had Frieza and 17 contribute in some way, to where they would have been still involved in the final fight. But not, I wish Ultra Instinct Goku could have had the overall victory. I think it would have been really, really cool to have Goku have that moment against Jiren. But his fighting with Jiren was pretty good that we saw anyway. So, but I think it was kind of a cop-out how he just lost his Ultra Instinct right before he could finish off Jiren. So then you're left with the 3 versus Jiren. Jiren being at his, like, weakest ever, because he just used all of his power to try and fight Master Ultra Instinct Goku, which he couldn't do. So, you know, he couldn't, so he's like, it's pretty equal now. Like, it's this even fight, this even brawl between the 3 Universe 7 contenders and Jiren, and the way that, like, Goku and Frieza tag team was amazing. I will never forget the Goku Frieza tag team. Like, as much as I wanted Ultra Instinct Goku to be the one to finish it, they really, really did nail the way they ended the fight with Jiren. Like, he really was given a proper send-off. Like just the fighting, and he throws him down, and he goes after my boy 17, who was laying that cover fire down for him, and then they fall down, and Goku just yeets Frieza and crashes into Jiren. Then Goku comes flying out of nowhere, and they both do the thing and fly up and explode with this giant bird-looking energy explosion. It's just hype. Like, I don't know how else, it's just everything is so well articulated and so cool looking in Super, and it's just like the choreography and everything in it is done so well. Like, all the fights you watch are so cool and are interesting in one way or another, and every character is important and has a role. And I mean look, 17, Goku wasn't even the one left in the ring by the end of it. Goku and Frieza had to ring themselves out with Jiren. My boy 17 being the straight up nicest man of the year, nicest man in the world. He's like, you know what? I want to save all the universes. My crews can wait. Like, much respect for Android 17. Just an MVP. He saved everybody. He saved all the universes, and I love how the Grand Priest talked about. He talked about how the Zenos, basically, this is what they wanted all along. They're like, he's like, we wanted to find somebody who was virtuous enough that could win this tournament. Basically, it was the Zenos were wanting the mortal race to prove themselves as being virtuous and being, showing that mortals could change. proving what Zamasu thought way back when, that mortals were just evil and would never change their ways. Zeno really wanted. I think Zeno was really kind of interested by that kind of question posed by Zamasu, because he put this whole tournament in the ground, in the works, and even though he wanted to do it for fun, we also get to see that he did it because he wanted to see if the mortal races were virtuous enough to live. And so they planned on having all these universes brought back. They're like, because they said if you made a selfish wish that wasn't to bring all the universes back, they were just going to erase your universe anyway. It would have been no one would have won the tournament if someone made a selfish wish. Like, it's just so cool to see how really intelligent, how well thought out this tournament really was from the Zenos. You wouldn't expect it from them, but they really thought it out to prove something and to see what the mortal races were like. They really didn't want to destroy all the races, all the universes rather. So that was really cool. And just the last moment where they're all hanging out, where they all go back home, and they all get back with their families, and we get to hear the opening play as like everyone's having the reunion. We get to see where they all are now, back on Earth, and then the final moment where Goku and Vegeta, they're all having the nice barbecue and they're hanging out to celebrate. And Goku and Vegeta fly off to go fight each other, and they go to the original place, the original battleground where we saw the first ever high-octane fight to ever go down in Dragon Ball Z history. And we got to see Goku and Vegeta take the same stances and duel it out as we hear the narrator talking about how the story of Dragon Ball is one that will never end, as the characters will forever grow in strength and will forever face more adventures. And then, but until then, Goku, farewell, and we'll see you next time. Like, it just I'm getting shivers now just thinking about it, like chills. Like, as a whole, Super was great. I don't know why people give it so much crap. I don't think the power scaling is a little whack. It's not quite as well handled, and they're not quite as like with Dragon Ball Z. It's pretty easy to find out who's stronger than who, what, all this kind of stuff. Like the power scaling was pretty well defined and understandable in Z, but it's a little skewed and a little hard to understand sometimes in Super. But I think if you really think about it, most of the time there's an explanation for why someone's as strong as they are, or why someone's doing what they're doing. I think there really is an explanation for most of it that makes it understandable. So I don't think Dragon Ball Super is nearly as confusing as people think it is, although maybe it's not quite as defined as Z, so Z might have that in its favor. But I think Super has a way better last arc. I think Dragon Ball, endings mean a lot to me. And Dragon Ball Z's last arc was supposed to be its big finale, but the Majin Buu arc, it wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't, I necessarily think, what Dragon Ball Z deserved for a finale. And the last episode was really good too, but again, it really wasn't anything super, super crazy compared to what we've seen before. But the last episode of Dragon Ball Super was phenomenal. It was still there was still a lot of fighting, and also a lot of time to just kind of settle things and just see where everyone was at. We got to see where all the other people in the universes were. We got to see how Goku changed Jiren to finally trust people. Like, we got to see a lot of cool stuff happen after the fighting was all settled. And it was just a really, really nice, just really conclusive yet open kind of way to end the series. I just felt good about myself. It just felt like a really good ending. And so I love that. I think the ending is better in Super than it is in Z. I think, you know, a lot of the moments are really hyped, and I think a lot of them, I think Super contains more hype than Z does. Like, Z's got some crazy hype moments too, but I think Super does it a little better. And Super has a lot of really well done fight scenes. Z does as well, but I think Super has more of those kind of fights. Like, more of the fights we see in Super are more articulated and more cool looking than what we see in Z. We see really cool fight scenes, but just not as many. But I'm not trying to say that Super is better than Z. In my opinion, I like them both the same. I think Z will always have nostalgia and will always have things that just make it really cool and better and just more fun to watch than Super. So it's back to a more basic, more, you know, more understanding time, a more, it's just, you know, I don't know, less confusing time for Dragon Ball. We could stick with it a little easier, but Super, I think, was an amazing sequel when you look at like Boruto or things like that, like sequel series to awesome shows. I think Dragon Ball Super is an awesome sequel series, and I love it a lot, and I think it does a lot of things really, really well. And so, yeah, I finally watched Dragon Ball Super, and I finally finished it. And it was great. You know, it's sad because Dragon Ball is my favorite series ever, but you know, we had the Broly movie, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna get another season of Super or get another series of Dragon Ball. I'm pretty confident that we will be, but for a while it's gonna be nothing. And but I think with how well Super was done and how well they ended it, I think I'm okay with that. So it's a bittersweet thing, but there's a lot of awesome anime stuff going on right now. One Punch Man Season 2 dub is coming out on Toonami tonight. My Hero Academia Season 4 just started tonight. There's a lot of cool stuff going on in the anime world recently, so I'm pretty excited. But I finished Dragon Ball Super, and I thought it was pretty amazing. So you're free to comment, you know, disagree, agree with me. I love to hear from you guys. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. Join the Nova Kingdom. Subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you for staying to the end. I know it's kind of getting long, but I really wanted to talk about it because Super is a pretty important thing to me since it's part of Dragon Ball, and I finally got it done. So I finally finished it. But remember to stay positive, enjoy life, because you only get one shot at it. It's Nova King from the Nova Kingdom, and until the next time, I'll catch you guys later. See ya.